Uh,
I'm sure he did. I'm sure he did that. He gave a Nazi salute. You're not just trying to make it look like that.
Again, you have an autistic guy who gets overwhelmed with emotion, and he says, "I'm giving you my heart." That's what. So you got. He should have did it like this. Why did he just do it like this?
Rogan was like, you use both
it's
hands.
very. This is very tricky. That's this or this. Oh, when you do it like that, no good. This. Oh, we love you. That. Oh, Heil. What are you doing? So
he's autistic.
He's autistic.
Yeah, so let's start with Jimmy. Thought this was pretty funny, reacting to the Elon Musk Sig Heil from a couple days ago. We're a little late to the party on this one, but still thought it was worth reacting to. Just take a look at the sickening gaslighting, guys. A sickening, disgusting lying and gaslighting from Jimmy Dore, who's really just, always in decline, never truly hitting rock bottom, but always getting close.
So Musk was accused of giving Nazi salute during the Trump inauguration celebrations.
Accused?
I'm sure he did.
I'm
sure he did that.
Of him
doing
the
Nazi salute. You're not
again.
Yeah, that's another funny thing. If we actually look at Jimmy's channel, let's take a look what he called it on there. He says, liberals scream he's a Nazi over Musk salute. So I actually, I'm cool with that. I think we should from now on call that gesture not a Hitler salute, but a Musk salute. I think that's appropriate.
Yeah, you're Elon Musking. You're not Sieg hailing.
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm sure he did. I'm sure he did that. He gave a Nazi salute. You're not just trying to make it look like that.
Again, you have an autistic guy who gets overwhelmed with emotion, and he says, "I'm giving you my heart." That's what. So you got. He should have did it like this. Why did he just do it like this?
Rogan was like, you use both hands.
Very. This is very tricky. That's this or this. Oh, when you do it like that, no good. This. Oh, we love you. That. Oh, Heil. What are you doing? So
he's autistic.
He's autistic. It was stupid of that. Yeah, but you really think after?
So, like, can an autistic person not do a Hitler salute? Like, can they not?
What do they think autism is?
Right. But also, like, yeah, some autistic people are Nazis. Some of them aren't Nazis. Like, Elon Musk being autistic really isn't that relevant, in my opinion, because, like I said, yeah, there are autistic people who are far-right fascist sympathizing Nazis. There's also autistic people who aren't. There's also non-autistic, completely neurotypical people who are Nazis. It really is not all that connected. And there's also plenty of autistic people that know not to, like, start doing a fucking Nazi salute, let alone in the middle of a public televised inauguration, right? It's not just an excuse for it. That's like saying, oh, this guy flipped off the Queen of England when he met her face to face but he's autistic. You can't blame him. He's autistic. He wasn't trying to be rude. It's like, no, I'm pretty sure he was a grown adult. Just because you're autistic doesn't mean you lose control of your limbs. You lose control of your fingers. It's not like Tourette's or something. You know what I'm saying?
That's what I mean. I'm like, what the hell did they think autism involves? Do they think that you have muscle spasms? Do they think that you are just totally incapable of controlling their body? They're unfamiliar with what that diagnosis involves and what it means in an individual, right? Like it's not Tourette syndrome, as you pointed out. It's not a number of things where you might be like, well, I think they just did not have it within themselves to not do it in that moment. Like, there are individuals that have a neurodivergence where that might be something that they do because they're incapable of not doing it, whatever, right? But it's not Elon Musk. We haven't seen that manifested throughout his entire life. What we have seen manifested throughout his entire life is his support for far-right parties, particularly far-right parties in Germany. And do you know what else he likes to do? He loves to trigger the libs. And do you know what else he likes to do? He likes to provoke people, and he wants to be in the media, and he wants attention on himself. And I think he did do it because he knew there would be enough people that would defend him anyway and deny that he did it, like Benjamin Netanyahu and the ADL. They'd be like, oh, no, he does nothing, blah, blah, blah. Look the other way. We're the real supporters of the Jewish people, and we would never support somebody who did a real Nazi salute. This guy is on our team. Of course, he didn't do that. It was his autism. And yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. And again, like, it'll be one thing if, some random Republican senator, Democrat, whoever, like some guy like Chuck Grassley or something, maybe he's at some speech and he says, my heart goes out to you, and he puts his hand up or something. Like, I could see that sort of being misinterpreted. You know, there's all these videos and clips going around that right wingers have cut of Democrats were there at a speech and they put their hand up for a second. You can kind of sort of make it look like a Nazi salute if you do a screenshot at the right time, right? So there is a version of this with a different person where I would be willing to give them the benefit of the doubt. But guys, Elon Musk, literally a week before doing this, changed his name to Kekius Maximus on Twitter and put a Pepe the Frog with an emperor garb on. Like, come on, Jimmy. Come on. Just admit what he's doing. You can say that it's trolling. You can say that, oh, he doesn't actually mean it. You know, just in the same way that, oh, some edgy kid might scream the N-word, but they don't actually mean it. You know, they're not actually racist. They're just, you know, they think it's hilarious to be racist, but they're not actually racist. You know, that's what's going on, whatever. You can make excuses for it, but don't fucking gaslight us. Don't lie about it. We all saw what happened. Elon Musk knew exactly what he was doing, and he succeeded in getting the attention that he wanted. That's what this is all about.
It's exactly like RFK pretending that he's not anti-vax, right? It's like, we all know you're anti-vax. You're standing out here. You've made a whole career out of being anti-vax, but when the rubber hits the road and now you're actually going to be held, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? Accountable for it. Yeah, exactly. You have to, fess to your crimes. You have to stand and be judged. You're like, no, I never did any of that. You're just a little brat. You're just a little child. You know what I'm saying? If that's what it exactly reminds me of. And I think the Republican Party understands that what the root of their agenda is incredibly unpopular. And now that they have to govern, they can't just rely on, shiny object politics and keeping people's eye off the ball. They have to instead lie about everything constantly.
Yep. And again, I'd have a lot more respect for people like Jimmy Dore and Trump supporters in general if they would at least just fucking spare us the bullshit and admit what clearly fucking happened. Like, again, you can still be a Trump supporter. You can still defend this on the grounds of what actually fucking happened. Not that I would ever do it, but you can still make a case. Like I said, say, oh, he was just trying to trigger you and you fell for it. By talking about it, you fell right into his trap. Of course it was a Nazi salute, but why are you talking about it? Why are you falling for the trap of being outraged about it? Jimmy could make an argument like that at least doesn't deny the basic fucking reality that we all saw with our own two eyes. But do not sit here and tell me that Elon Musk didn't do a Nazi salute intentionally, 100%, knowing the camera was on him, knowing it would immediately go viral. Are you fucking kidding me, bro? That's what I just find so insulting. And again, at least come up with some sort of argument like, yeah, obviously it was a Nazi salute, but why are you so triggered by it? Don't you have anything better to do than fall for this trap over and over again, you dumb liberal? Like, wouldn't that be at least a more respectable approach to this?
Oh, of course it would be more respectable, right? But what he's trying to do is he's trying to get invited back on the Joe Rogan Experience. He's trying to really cuddle up with the powerful individuals that have become right-wing media. You know what I mean? And Jimmy sees how those guys' bread gets buttered. Jimmy sees the end goal is make as much money as possible for him, right? He doesn't actually have an agenda, as we've illustrated so many times. So I think he's just willing to kiss the ring over and over and over again. And we've seen that with his climate denial too. Jimmy was one of the guys that I thought would never pivot on climate because he'd gone so hard in the paint about it, but there's no line he won't cross. There's nothing he won't backtrack on. He's literally just a right-wing talking head at this point. Even Anna Kasparian got convinced within like 30 seconds that Elon definitely did the Nazi salute. She's on there talking to Cenk like, when I first saw it, I thought for sure, maybe I was just getting duped. And, I looked at him and he looked, I was like, of course he's not doing a Nazi salute. And then even Cenk is like, of course it was a Nazi salute. But then he goes on to be like, but I don't think that makes him a Nazi. And it's like, what are you talking about? A guy literally got in front of a crowd of people after supporting the far-right German neo-Nazi party and then did a Sig Heil for the world to see in front of a dozen cameras from every major news outlet. If you are so pea-brained, if you are so pretzeled, if you are willing to do the cognitive gymnastics it takes to deny that blatant reality, you are not fit to observe the world for a living and give people your analysis of it.
Yeah, but he has autism, Zach. He has autism.
Why did he just do it like this? This is very tricky. That's this or this. Oh, when you do it like that, no good. This, oh, we love you. That, oh, Heil. What are you doing? So
he's autistic.
He's autistic. It was stupid of that. Yeah. But you really think after 8 years of calling Donald Trump literal Hitler and saying that he's Putin's puppet and all, even after all, now you're going to switch, you're going to pivot to, oh, Elon Musk, he's the secret Nazi. Oh my God, he's been hiding.
No, it's almost like we were 100% fucking right about this being an explicitly neo-Nazi movement. You fucking cocksucking piece of shit. Admit that you were fucking wrong.
Well, that's the other thing, right? Where I think it might be true, and I would be interested to get your opinion on this, right? I think it might be true that the Democrats have to pivot away from calling Donald Trump a Nazi and pointing out that he's a fascist all of the time in lieu of any other policy, right? But that doesn't mean they have to stop being honest, which is the total case that, yeah, he did a Nazi salute. Yes, these guys are fascists. Yes, that's the opposition against. Here is our plan to beat them, right? That's never the follow-up, right? It always stops at these guys are Nazis and fascists. It's never okay. What is making people attracted to them? What is the root cause? What allows them to gain power over and over and over again, right? There's the old Aaron Sorkin line where he's like, oh, if Democrats are so great, how come they lose so goddamn always? And it is kind of a motherfucker to respond to, right? Because they run dog shit campaigns constantly. They don't know what to promise people, right? And they let worse people with worse ideas get into power because they're actually promising something even though it's a lie.
Oh, yeah, I totally agree. I mean, talking about how fascist the Republicans are is not me making an excuse for the feckless piece of shit Democrats, for sure. And they do need to get their act together because they're complicit in the fascism that we're all about to experience. I think that is 100% true. And yeah, I do have mixed feelings about, like, because we're commentators, we're loudmouth muckrakers whose job it is to hold powerful people to account and make fun of them. So obviously we're going to be honest. We're going to say these people are fascists, these people are Nazis, these people are crooks and criminals, et cetera, et cetera. But I do think it's an interesting conversation about how, like, Democrats, how the opposition should handle it. Because you're right, it could sound hyperbolic to people if all of a sudden, all these Democrats are out here calling the opposition Nazis and calling them Hitler and stuff like that right after the majority of the American people elected them into office. So it is a tough conversation. It is a fine line to walk. And I think that it really just comes down to on a person by person basis. Some politicians are uniquely capable of walking that line. Some aren't so good at it. So I think it takes a talented communicator for sure.
I think that's one of the things we have to give AOC massive props for, no matter how you feel about her. She is not one of the people that has ever denied Donald Trump's worst impulses. She hasn't been the kind of person that's ever laundered his reputation. She's always been firmly clear about his fascistic impulses, about his horrible diplomacy, his god-awful immigration policy, all of the things, right? She vocal and fiercely opposed to it, right? But we also recently have reckoned with the fact she actually had a lot of crossover voters with people in New York City who voted for AOC and also voted for Donald Trump. So people are willing to hear those criticisms if you are giving those criticisms and then offering an alternative, right? What they hate is when they're like, that's a bad idea. And they're like, well, what's your idea? And they'll be like, well, you can't really do anything because of the stalled out Congress. And, there's a lot of lobbying influence. That's not going to cut it.
Do you want to take a look at Joe Rogan, who also had some condescending bullshit, lies, and gaslighting for all you guys?
Of course. Let's do it.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
You know what I found out last night? My friend Kurt Metzger told me this. We were talking about the Elon gaffe, where he's like, my heart goes out to you.
So
like, hey,
silly.
Don't do that, though.
That's the perfect example of when you see a story, you believe it's true. If you believe he's a Nazi, you're going to see him do a silly hand gesture and see that as that.
Well, he's saying my heart goes out to you. But that is how the Nazis did it.
Yeah.
But this is the thing. This is what I found out last night. That's also how they used to do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Oh, really?
The Pledge of Allegiance used to be done like this until the Nazis came along.
Bro, ask yourself one more follow-up question than that. Be like, whoa, what the fuck? Why were we doing the Pledge of Allegiance like Nazis? Joe, use your brain. You used to be the kind of guy that would think through that problem, okay? You got lost when you said, oh, wow, it's actually not that weird. We used to act like Nazis a lot in this country and not be like, damn, isn't it kind of weird how we still do the Pledge of Allegiance every day, even though it's hella Nazi coded? Let your brain keep turning, Joe. I believe in you.
Yeah. Also, it's like, so what are you saying, that Elon Musk was referencing the old way of doing the Pledge of Allegiance? Like, is that what you're like? No, he wasn't doing a Nazi salute. What's actually more likely than that, the guy whose Twitter name was just Kekius Maximus, what's actually more likely is he was doing a historical throwback to like some 1920s version of the Pledge of Allegiance salute. Like, what the fuck is that supposed to mean, bro? Oh,
this. Your hand over your heart. So we cut out that part.
There's going to be a screen grab of you.
Well, there's already a screen grab. This is what's funny. CNN, during the COVID times in particular, whenever I get in trouble, the photo they would use of me was me at the UFC weigh-ins. So when I do the weigh-ins, I announce the weigh-ins. I say, "Welcome to the weigh-ins, everybody." I'm
so
waving to the crowd. That's what they did. So they would use this photo of me
so
to try to make it look like I was some sort of a Nazi.
Whatever.
Because I'm waving to the
So
crowd, and they take a freeze frame of it. I'm like, "Welcome to."
Okay, Gavin, I followed this entire CNN debacle very closely. I do think that they did Joe Rogan wrong in the CNN debacle. I think, like Gavin and I, we both kind of come down on the side of like, if Joe Rogan wants to take horse ivermectin, like let him. Like, I don't believe in the censorship campaign that was kind of launched against him. However, I'm never going to throw a pity party for Joe Rogan or how the media treats him, right? Given the fact that he treats everyone else. Okay. Right. But I don't remember them particularly trying to smear him as a Nazi by doing the Nazi salute from the UFC weigh-in. And I have watched a lot of UFC. Gavin will vouch for me. Okay. I watch the most football, but I would say the sport I watch after that the most is probably UFC fighting. I've seen a lot of weigh-ins. I've seen a lot of all that. I don't remember that photo ever going viral. I think he made that up to run cover for his boy Elon. And that makes me even more skeptical. And also, I'm not skeptical. I guess I should say it makes me more certain. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm skeptical, I guess, of Joe Rogan and why he's running so much cover for Elon. But like, this is totally made up.
Oh, yeah. I've also never heard of that. I was about to ask you if you had, but I guess you haven't either. Never heard of it. Maybe if they did post a photo like that, Joe Rogan just kind of in the back of his mind assumed, oh, they chose that one because it makes me look like a Nazi. But I don't remember anyone else ever talking about this controversy or acknowledging it or acting like CNN had intentionally done that to Joe at all. And the reason why that controversy never stuck is because you clearly weren't actually doing the salute if that photo was real. Let's compare that again to Elon Musk's salute. And this is it right next to the salute from the film American History X, which it honestly, guys, it seems like Elon Musk specifically based his salute off of the one from this movie. Like, this might be his main, encounter with Nazi iconography, just watching this movie. Maybe it's like his favorite film or something. So this is what he had in mind.
His favorite movie. He missed the point.
Yeah, he definitely missed the point. He completely misread it. Kind of like how people, like the main character from Wolf of Wall Street and act like he's a badass.
Oh yeah, or Gordon Gekko or any of these assholes. Yep. American literacy is low.
Yep. And anyway, watch this, guys. It's the same shit.
Thank you.
He puts his hand right on the chest and then does the salute. It's not subtle at all. And again, if Joe Rogan had done that exact salute with that exact motion at the UFC weigh-in or whatever, it probably would have been a bigger scandal. People probably would have been like, yo, dude, that looked almost exactly like a freaking Sig Heil Nazi salute, which again is exactly what Elon Musk did a week after making his Twitter name Kekius Maximus. So it's pretty obvious what was fucking going on here. I can't believe that people like Joe Rogan, again, instead of just taking the path of saying, yeah, he's being an edgelord, being a little bit edgy, he's doing a freaking edgelord salute or whatever. Like, he could have just gone that route, but instead you're really going to just fucking gaslight people and act like he was, completely unintentionally doing it.
Yeah, I think the most charitable reading you could possibly give, and I think this is delusional and wrong, and I question your motives if you do this because it is so obvious, as we've laid out in about half a dozen examples. I think Lost Highway put it in the chat recently too. The only way you can freaking interpret this is that he either did it as a troll or a LARP, or that he did it as a dog whistle, right? Like, you're either arguing that he's such a little boy, this guy that you guys are constantly parading around as the smartest, most intelligent man on fucking planet Earth. He's so stupid. He's such a little boy. You're calling it autism, which I think is fucking offensive. That's your reason, is that he just didn't know what he was doing and he did it to be funny and he didn't understand how cringe it would be. Okay, that's your argument. Fine. I think it's a horseshit argument, but at least it's rooted in reality where you accept that guy Sig Heiled. But we all know what it really was it was a dog whistle to try and get him back in, because he's been on the outside with the hardcores. He needs leverage with Donald Trump. He needs something to make himself popular so that he can get back with the in crowd. We covered it the other day. what's it like, Trump's chief of staff lady or whatever her title is, was like, yeah, don't put Elon anywhere near the West Wing. His office doesn't get to be in the West Wing. It has to be somewhere away from Donald Trump because we don't want him having direct access to Trump anymore. They shipped Vivek off to Ohio, completely axed him from Doge. Okay, so Elon he's used all this leverage. Donald Trump doesn't need him to get elected anymore. He doesn't need him for money for his campaign anymore. So he's cast him out. And he's in the doghouse. He's trying to find a way to get back into Trump's good graces. And I think that he thought maybe because he's delusional and he is a man-child, that sig-hailing and winning favor with the Groypers again would somehow make Donald Trump show him attention. I don't know. What's your reading on it?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of that. I also just think that Elon Musk genuinely, like, more so than his autism have anything to do with this, I just think he's a very immature, coddled, spoiled, fucking brat of a human being that's never had to face any consequences and that is now in a portion of his life probably fueled by ketamine, where it's just this attention addiction. I really do think that Elon Musk is probably genuinely addicted to attention. And he's just at this point where, like, he just has to keep saying and doing crazier and crazier things to get it. Trump has been there too. I mean, it's how we've got some of his craziest moments, the eating the dogs, the eating the cats. You know, he's been out of the news. Kamala's getting a little bit too much news. The new nominee, got to say something crazy, got to do something really fucking racist to get the media attention back on you. These people have realized that that's the number one way to get the cameras on them, to get the TV to talk about them, and to get liberals to fucking freak out about it. And, you know, it does work. It does work. Partially because liberals have nothing better to do than talk about this shit and get triggered over it. And partially because people are genuinely terrified to be living in a country that's controlled by what appears to be an explicitly neo-Nazi regime. So I think that, you know, it's a mix of things, but ultimately Elon Musk is a very immature person with the mind of a 7-year-old. And you know how seventh graders, like seventh grade boys, they'll say the N-word just to trigger, just to get a rise out of people. And, you know, oh, like, I'm so edgy, and aren't you fucking stupid for getting mad at me? Like, even though I just did something clearly problematic and racist and offensive, haha, you're kind of triggered, lol. Like, that's what's going on.
Yeah, you're totally right about, you know, the outrage, the liberal, they've gamified it almost, and they've made it stranger than fiction. Like, it's beyond reality almost. It's crazy where we've gone. And I almost think that's the fault of Kanye West, which we've talked about in the past. Like, Kanye saw what Donald Trump did and wanted that for himself. He's like, I want to be president. And because he had none of the savviness about politics that Donald Trump had at all, he wasn't a daily Fox News viewer. He hadn't been plugged in for decades on the ins and outs of American politics and what, you know, conspiracies and talking points were going to, you know, gin up the conservative base. But he wanted to do exactly what Donald Trump did. And then he just shoved all of his chips in the pot. I think that you're right on when you bring up ketamine. I think the nitrous with Kanye, whatever it ended up being.
Don't do too much drugs, kids. You're going to turn racist as fuck.
It's great. I mean, Roseanne Barr also went on that whole racist tangent after doing a lot of drugs. Dude, it's weird. I think it's probably just revealing who you are deep down when you're no longer inhibited by anything. But I mean, Kanye going on these weird, hysterical, anti-Semitic tangents and talking about how he loved Hitler was 1,000,000% just motivated by him staying in the news cycle. It was 1,000,000% motivated. And he might have convinced himself all of that crazy shit, but he convinced himself that crazy shit so that he could stay in the news cycle. Right. And I think that you might be hitting the nail on the head, Gavin. That's what Elon's doing. He's just trying to stay in the news cycle.
Yeah. I also think there's something that happens with these super rich guys, people like Kanye too, where eventually the media turns on them, people kind of turn on them, and then they kind of embrace the villain role. I think we saw this a lot with Kanye. Yeah, exactly. I think we saw this a lot with Kanye after his relationship to Kim Kardashian fell apart. And everyone was like, hey, dude, you're actually a total fucking creep. It's not cool to stalk your ex-wife around and threaten her children and, you know, make her fear for her life, no matter who she is. That's not fucking cool. People, and he was like, oh, I thought people would like the fact that I was doing this crazy shit to try to, you know, make her fall back in love with me. Turns out it wasn't a vibe. It wasn't cool. So now I am the villain. Time to embrace it. Yeah, I do like Hitler. Yeah, I am fucking Hitler. You know, that's what happens with a lot of these people. And I think that's also kind of what's happening with Elon Musk, where he's like, okay, all you people want to call me a fucking, you know, fascist and shit. So yeah, I am a fascist and this is what I'm going to do. And this is who I am. And you have to deal with it because I'm your king. You know what I'm saying? I think that's also happening.
It's that literal parody video where the guy's like, well, you just called me a Nazi? Well, maybe I'm just gonna fucking do a Nazi salute. Maybe I'm just gonna shave all of my facial hair besides the fucking little patch right here. Maybe I'm just gonna name my dog Adolf. Maybe well, since you guys have already said I'm a Nazi, why don't I just wear this fucking Nazi outfit? Why don't I just hang all this Nazi paraphernalia around my house? Oh, since you guys already think I'm a Nazi. Like, okay, dude, maybe you just kind of secretly wanted to do that anyway, because absolutely nobody forced you to do that anyway. It's absolutely nuts.
Yep, 100%, 100%. And I'm not denying that he's always like had this, origin story and these roots. Obviously, I'm not denying that at all. All I'm saying is that with a lot of these rich guys, they don't even actually mind playing the villain as much as you might think. People talk about, they want affection, they want love, they want adoration. Well, sometimes a super rich narcissistic guy like Elon Musk is also more than happy to be feared. He's more than happy to be hated and loved by a small group of defenders. You know what I'm saying? But they don't all need the entire public to adore them. A lot of times they kind of can embrace playing the villain in a dark sort of way.
Yep. Absolutely. Gavin, do you want to go ahead and mosey on over to our next clip?
Yeah, exactly. Sure. Do you want to take a look at this first couple minutes from Krystal and Kyle?
Absolutely.
Sweet. Let's pull it up. They had Mike from the Humanist Report on, and I thought in the first couple minutes here made some excellent points and some pretty funny dunks on some of the aforementioned, people we were just talking about, some of these conservative clowns and commentators who have really taken the mask off in the last week or so.
Sweet. Let's watch.
So let me talk to you about another thing which I'm radicalized on. I've done a total 180 on my perception of new media. I used to be of the belief that virtually everybody in new media, you could take them at face value. They're honest actors. You might disagree with them, but they mean what they say, etc. Now I'm the exact opposite. I think virtually everybody in new media is a fucking liar. They're a dishonest hack, or they're paid to spew the opinions that they spew. And just to give an example, we were talking about Trump's scam meme coin, which he launched 2 days before his inauguration, where he made tens of billions of dollars. And here's the thing. Everybody knew that was a scam. There's not a single person who looks at that who doesn't know that it's a scam. But, everybody go take a look. How many of the MAGA influencers and podcasters talked about it and condemned it properly? How many did that, right? Very few, if any. There were some, I guess, in the crypto community who were like, this is not good, but almost all of them are. They just ignored it. They ignored it or they supported it.
Yeah,
right?
I love how Portnoy was like, this is bad. And then he was like,
yeah. One thing I will give Kyle credit for, a lot of credit, right, is that he's instinctively a nice guy, right? When you look back at Kyle and how he's interacted with pretty much everybody in this space, it's hard to point to an instance where he was just randomly mean or insulting or derogatory to someone. He really does have that thing where he sees the best in people, right? I don't really have that grievance. I have always been more in the camp of like, I'm sus about you. Why the fuck are you doing this for work? Like, are you just a hack that didn't make it in Hollywood? That's a lot of people. It's a lot of people. That's the Dave Rubins of the world, right? You have your Cenk and Annas who they really just wanted clout and money and they wanted to be seen. Cenk wanted to hear the sound of his own voice. He wanted to be a businessman. He wanted to be a success, right? Progressive politics was a means to an end. That's a lot of people. A lot of people who are on the Trump train. MAGA politics, means to an end. They don't give a shit. They want to be popular. They want to have money. They need something to talk about that's going to attract an audience quickly and passionately. Well, that's politics. Let's go to where the fucking lightning already struck. It's like fucking shooting fish in a barrel. If you become a MAGA podcaster, why don't we do that? So it's not just the left. However, I don't trust anybody who is a MAGA independent podcaster. They all read ads. They're all corporate as fuck. All of those motherfuckers, they are corporate as shit. So I'm never surprised by any of their lack of calling out of Donald Trump. They're not going to do that, right? But what is important is to make sure that those same judgments that you cast instinctively against the right wing, which I would encourage you all to do, you have to also maintain that same scrutiny when you're looking at your favorite left-wing podcast. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
I bought some. I made a lot of money. Now I might launch my own. It's like, oh, look at this principled reaction.
So every MAGA influencer and non-MAGA influencer who didn't vociferously condemn that, I literally don't take anything you have to say seriously ever again, ever. Yeah. You're a paid hack or you're dishonest. And I want to know your thoughts on new media, because I look now, I mean, it is a fucking cesspool. I see Slow Rogan was defending Elon's Nazi salute. Of course, because he's, you know, he's got his little peanut brain. Yeah. Oh, I could never disagree with Elon. He's such a genius. It's the most pathetic cuckery I've ever seen in my life. Jimmy Dore was defending Trump's first day executive orders. He literally did a segment where he was like, the glorious Trump has saved the whales. Because he went after windmill. I was like, this is like an AI parody of what Jimmy Dore was going to become, right? Like, I was like, you really got nothing to say about the executive order that raised drug prices. You got nothing to say about the executive order that laid the groundwork for war with Mexico. You got nothing to say about the executive order that increased corruption in Trump's cabinet, where he said, you guys could take bribes now. Nothing on any of that. So my question for you is, are you as black-pilled as I am on new media? Of course, we're black-pilled on mainstream media, but new media was a separate question. But now I'm like, motherfucker, I got a 7-front war going on. I got to go to war against all these motherfuckers because they're all completely and utterly dishonest hacks, and many of them are.
And we'll let you guys watch the interview on the Krystal Kyle Friends to actually hear what Mike says. I definitely urge you guys to watch the whole episode. It's a fantastic interview. But yeah, Kyle is not holding back. I enjoy the new moniker for Joe, Slow Rogan. I think that fits the bill pretty well. So really enjoyed that, and it's good to see Krystal and Kyle unchained, completely willing to just totally speak their mind on these absolute clowns who not that long ago they were willing to give the benefit of the doubt in a pretty charitable way.
Look out the door if you hear an ambulance. The Vanguard will be there, sir. The Vanguard will be there, sir.